Hi, my name is David Herle. You may have heard of me from contexts such as running political campaigns, commenting on politics on the CBC, or my recent podcast, The Herle Burly. But professionally, I'm a public opinion researcher, a pollster. Part of opinion research is a thing called a focus group, a facilitated discussion. I've moderated hundreds, maybe thousands of these. They're extraordinarily valuable in understanding how people think about issues. They reveal true intensity of feeling, candidness, what words and constructs people use when talking about an issue or a politician, the strength of an argument to persuade. Marketers and political parties have used focus groups for years to shape their strategies and communications. Now Air Quotes Media is bringing them to you. Through the Looking Glass, presented by Telus, is a show that uses focus groups to show you how important issues are being conceptualized, thought about, expressed by ordinary Canadians. Hands up if you've seen that image.
I don't think it's all hockey and Tim Hortons.
We're going through genocide and we're still paying taxes.
Many of us now live in silos of our own creation, silos that prevent us from hearing and understanding where people are coming from. You'll see exactly where they're coming from on Through the Looking Glass. No filters, just real talk. So let's start off this last week with just a general conversation. What did people notice in the campaign this past week? Anything catch your attention?
They're starting to trade blows a little bit. Nothing serious, but they keep poking at each other.
What's a poke? What's a blow?
Oh, they'll be mentioning like, oh, we're going to do the vaccines. Like from Trudeau, for example. He's like, they're going to not do that stuff and they can't even get their own party in. And then O'Toole would be like, yeah, but we're going to do it this way. And Trudeau isn't doing very good. They just keep just minor little like children poking at each other.
All right. Art, you get your hand up.
Yeah, I noticed Alberta with Kenny reversing on the vaccine. That kind of hurt the federal party, PC party a bit.
How does it hurt the federal
like their
party?
numbers in the poll have dropped.
How does it hurt the federal party? What happened in Alberta?
Well, because the Conservatives at first were so lax about the restrictions with the vaccine, and now they have to go back in and putting in all the restrictions on that because the numbers have exploded on them. It kind of affects the federal Conservatives as well. People just make that connection between the PC and Alberta.
Right. Was everybody on the call here aware of the developments in Alberta this week? Put your hands up if you knew what happened in Alberta this week with respect to COVID. So about 8 out of 10 people, I would say. And Cece, well, you're one of the ones that didn't see it. That's right. Sony, what do you think?
I saw it.
You saw it? Okay. You had your hand up? Yeah. What impact do you think it had on the federal election?
Obviously was like stricter, I think like going back in time in terms of COVID restriction. Definitely gonna impact the number of people who are willing to go out of their way to vote. That said, I don't know what Alberta is favoring, like which party. Then if they had a party that they're favoring, obviously, I don't know, probably like less advantage for that party because they'll be getting less vote from Alberta.
Okay. Anybody else think that what happened in Alberta this week was significant from a federal perspective?
I don't think it affect anything, to be honest with you, because everybody tried to help in. What happened in Alberta, it happened in a lot of countries. Australia going backward, England going backward. It's nobody's fault, it's just a nature. That's what I think.
Okay, Jane, what do you think?
Well, I did notice an increase in support for the PPC, and so I'm assuming some of those Alberta voters switched parties. I'm actually finding it to be quite an alarming rise in the popularity of the PPC. They were saying on CTV News last night that it's up to 7.5% of the population is supporting that party.
Okay. Tara, what did you think about Alberta?
I think it was similar to, what a lot of people I know, opinion in Ontario. So the mishandling of, and then we heard in Ontario as well, a significant amount of money that he held back that he did have to put forward to help fight COVID from the federal government. So those two things together, I think, are both negatives towards that party. Because it is still PC, right? Even though run differently, but provincial versus federal, I think it still does affect it.
Interesting. Dragon, did what happened in Alberta have any impact on how you think about the federal campaign?
No, I'm still gonna be voting for the NDP. Just realize what Jason Kenney did a big mistake having that fair the stampede, correct, and it was a mistake. He realized that they should have not held it this year, so now they may need help from Ontario, because BC and Saskatchewan, they're having their own issues with increasing numbers, and they may need our help to send patients to Ontario. So it will affect Erin O'Toole. A lot of voters will realize that it may affect Erin O'Toole after all.
Okay. What else? Anybody notice anything else in the campaign? Anything catch your eye? Anything you find interesting? Dragon, go ahead.
Well, Jagmeet Singh reiterated again yesterday that he's going to be pledging the billionaires to pay their shares of taxes and the super rich. He keeps repeating that, which I really like. And also with the house crisis, he will try to make it more affordable. So let's see what happens. I really don't, David, don't have any favorite. I've been, for the last few weeks, I've been saying he's my favorite, Jagmeet Singh. Really, nobody's really my favorite, but if I have a choice to vote, will be still him. If the late Jake Layton was still alive, and I will definitely have my favorite choice, it will be him. But fortunately, he's been gone a long time ago. So going back to this election, I'll still vote for Jagmeet. He's still my candidate that I would like to be chosen.
But something about him's disappointing you. What is that, Dragon?
Nothing really. He's well-spoken, just like the other two candidates. I like what he says in every campaign that he goes across Canada. But just once again, I don't think he was going to get enough seats and votes to be elected our prime minister. Although thousands will vote for him, including me, but they don't think it's going to be enough for him to be selected our next prime minister. Nothing bad to say about him. I really like all the campaigns that he goes to. I like him the best. I don't like Erin O'Toole. The main thing is the smirk. That's the thing. I don't trust the guy, how he's going to lead our country. And I like the NDP because he's the one for the smaller people. For the I like when he says he's gonna go after the offshore billionaires that keep their money offshores, and I really like that he keeps repeating that. I really like it. But thank you for asking me, David. The one thing that I just remember now that I don't like about Jagmeet Singh, it's the super rich. I just don't want him to tax super rich. I want to tax him rich too. Like he's rich, but he should be able to, not just the super rich. When he says super rich, what, 10, 20 million and up?
15, he said. 15? Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Derek, for letting me know. Well, I think that's the one thing that I don't like from the beginning. And thank you for asking that question. And that's the only thing that I don't like about. He should be taxing not just the super rich, but also the rich people as well.
Be careful. He's going to start taxing Sarduel if you're not careful. So, I want to go around the room now, and I want to put you on the spot. And I want to ask you how your mind is turning on this last weekend, and whether you've made up your mind, and if so, why you've made up your mind, and if you haven't made up your mind, what you're still considering. So, Daryl, let's go with you. Have you decided who you're voting for?
I'm most of the way there. I'd say 85% decided. We still have today and tomorrow to see what unfolds, if anything really spectacular happens. But I'm still leaning conservative, or not conservative, sorry, against the Conservatives, Liberals for myself for now, because the platform bodes well for what I need in my family. So it makes sense for me. Liberals, perhaps. I don't see them winning, but in my riding, definitely they're going to win.
NDP, you mean?
Yeah,
NDP?
sorry, I keep saying that. Yeah, NDP, sorry. They're going to win in my riding, most likely. We've been an NDP area for a very long time. But you never know. Time for change happens sometimes. Aside from that, some of the things O'Toole has been saying, like Trudeau had a rally, 400 people showed up. The space was plenty big enough, but everybody was crammed as close as they could get. And it's not necessarily Trudeau's fault that people did that, but they did it. And O'Toole's right. Trudeau says one thing and another thing is happening. And he's not wrong when he makes those statements. And it's happened more than a few times. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that everything he's done has been what he's that one thing, right? Your one action doesn't translate to all of your actions. So again, like I said, I'm mostly decided, but who knows? Maybe somebody's going to throw some rocks and get arrested, and it'll be fun to watch again.
Okay. What in the Liberal platform particularly attracted you?
Well, my wife is on permanent disability, so having that income for her keep rising has been good. It's definitely helped us financially in the last several years. It was clawed back before the Liberals had come in, when Harper was in, and it really did make our day-to-day financial situation a lot harder. And having that increase in funding for her on top of my own income, which is a whole different can of worms as well. That's a go research if you want, but I don't need to get into it. It made it so that we could get by and actually start improving our life and change everything about how we do our day-to-day. We're now in a position where buying cars is not out of the realm. Buying a house is on the docket in the next few years because of those changes. Those weren't there 4 years ago, 5 years ago. It's only recent. And that's directly because of the current government.
Okay. Sarah, have you made up your mind?
No, I was actually drove by the poll when it was the pre-time, and I thought maybe I should stop and vote. And then I was like, I still don't know. So, but now I'm closer, I think, to Liberal, solely because I was thinking NDP and I was quite happy with that thought. But then as I'm driving through my town, I noticed there's very few NDP signs. And I do know that we had a Liberal in our riding before. And after speaking to other people and reading her pamphlet, she has done quite a bit for Oakville. So I'm thinking maybe I should just look at this riding and therefore vote that way instead of the big person.
Okay. So your preference would be to vote NDP, but you are voting strategically for the Liberal Party because they're more likely to win.
No, not even that, because it's only because in my riding.
In your riding.
Yes, that's all I'm looking at. I'm not now looking federally. Okay. I knew it would be NDP or Liberal, but because we were Liberal before and she did a good job, yep. I thought, well, I'm going to continue what we know was good for here and vote for her.
Okay. And what's the most important reason you're not voting Conservative?
Oh my God, I don't. Everything. Most important. I feel like they have no idea what middle-class people are. That's what I'll say. I don't know. I feel like they're so individually driven as opposed to a community and community helping each other. That's
okay. Starduel.
Yes, sir.
Do you know who you're voting for?
From day one, Mr. O'Toole.
Okay.
Yeah.
Despite your liking for Jagmeet, you're voting for O'Toole?
Yes, true. But I know my riding is Jagmeet not doing anything. It's a very poor candidate. I don't see anything in my riding. Jagmeet going to do something.
Right. And
another thing I heard, Jagmeet doing a lot of things purposely, not to win some of the riding, to help Trudeau. That's very bad for for NDP. And,
you heard that Singh is helping Trudeau?
Yep, some writing, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Why are you voting Conservative, Sardul? Why are you voting for O'Toole?
In Liberal agenda, nothing for me. I never get anything from Liberal. I always work, pay tax, nothing get back. Trudeau always, people don't work, he pays them. If you don't pay them, people look for work. He's making hand to mouth, and that's why he's getting all the votes. People are greedy, just vote him for the money. It's not true. You should look for the country. You look for the good thing what happened to the community, not just voting because of money. And he's also power hungry. He should not call the election. He has nothing any motion he brings all get passed. Everybody helping him. Yeah. And I hope he lose and he resign.
Okay. What do you think O'Toole will do for you?
I mean, to be honest with you, O'Toole not do nothing bad. He's only new in as a leader, and people don't trust him. But I'm pretty sure whatever he said, he will do it. I trust him, and I'm a O'Toole party fan for a long time.
Okay. Sony, you're next on my list. Have you decided who you're supporting?
I'm still on the fence. It's going to be between. Actually, I'm pretty much decided. Most likely will be in the NDP. Okay. I was on the fence with between NDP and Liberal, but I like more of NDP with the healthcare, with childcare. I think they look out more for the common person, like the middle class. So most likely I will be voting for NDP unless something gigantic happens between now and Monday that the Liberals come out on top. But I think I'm going to be NDP.
Okay, and how did you decide between Singh and Trudeau? What was the difference maker for you?
I don't know. This time I found Trudeau's. I don't know. Maybe his behavior was kind of odd for me, like the way he handled certain things. I don't know. I wasn't kind of comfortable with that. Just I saw a couple of interviews with him. Just his answers. I didn't like the fact that, he's the way he says them, they, the people that are not vaccinated to the people that are vaccinated, but yet he wants, he's telling all of Canada to come forward, but he's selecting who he's kind of going to support or not support. So I don't know, that was just a little bit of a red flag for me.
Right. Interesting. Do you think you like Singh more than Trudeau? Like as a person or something?
Well, like if I between both of them, I think I would like Singh more.
Okay. Because what about him?
That was the question, right?
Yeah. But what about him? What about him?
I just think his I think he's more down to earth, right? Singh, I think he's had I think his experiences, his education, I think that makes him more relatable. Right. And maybe he has more of a handle on issues that, everyday issues that people face.
All righty. Yi.
I voted already.
Well, then I presume you've made up your mind.
Yeah, I voted already. I voted Conservative. The reason for that is, first of all, Liberal, I don't like the Trudeau's policy. He spent too much money and without a very careful strategic plan, because who is going to pay for that? There will be someone who has to pay for that. There's no free lunch, as I said earlier. For the Conservative, why do I vote them? So one of the reasons is their policies. The second reason is, as I said in last session, so if nobody is perfect, nobody is ideal, then I would have to choose the good out of the worst or the better out of the good. So that's just a comparison, a comparative selection. And the reason I don't consider NDP is that I don't think their tax super rich is realistic. It's not possible at all. You'll see, because there's such a strong solid foundation why they are rich. And secondly, what I think is you don't want to have those like a communist. So everybody is equal. It's not possible. Everybody has their different education, has their different intellectual capacity, and it's natural that the rich, they are rich for a reason, and you can help the poor, but you don't just give money, and you have to teach people to fishing instead of giving them fish. So with that reason, I don't agree their policy, and it seems like that's only their highlights of the policy. Their tax super rich. I don't think it's realistic. So with all that reason, I voted conservative.
Okay, Yi, I hope this doesn't offend you.
No.
My feeling the first day we met was that you were inclined to vote conservative.
Well, because at that time, remember, I didn't even know Erin O'Toole's name.
I was going to ask you. How did O'Toole wear on you over the last 5 weeks?
Well, I think mostly it's their platform. I remember the platform said, we're going to bring the economy back. So we'll create more job opportunity. So that is the way, teach people to fishing instead of give them the fish.
Right. But on O'Toole personally, you went from not knowing him at all, but being sympathetic to his party to 5 weeks later. What do you think?
It's not really like I would have to vote just because of the individual's characteristic. I vote for the party. I vote for the party because of the policy, not necessarily just a single person.
Right. So am I supposed to take from that you don't really like Erin O'Toole, or that he didn't make much of an impact?
Well, it's not, to me, it's not like, it's like a 50-50, just like that. I'm not particularly feel like he's so interesting, attractive, so I would have to vote for that person. I vote for the policy, not the person.
Gotcha. Cece, have you made your decision?
I think so. I think like 90%. I'm leaning towards liberal, mainly because the other party hasn't done enough to persuade me away from my original choice.
Right.
And also, I feel like given the uncertainty, it's better to have the same government continuing. And on that note, I also think that they actually handle COVID, the pandemic in terms of management and then pretty well, considering the circumstances.
Okay. And if you had not voted Liberal, who would you have voted for?
Probably Conservative.
Okay. And so when you were weighing those two, is there anything that tilted you away from the Conservatives?
I think it's credibility of the face of the party. Given Trudeau is more known and, he has done some good things versus, not that I don't want to give a chance to a new face, but just, is this the right time to give the chance to the new face? That's, I think, mainly the decision factor for me.
Cool. All right. Thank you, Cece. Jane?
Yes.
You made your mind up?
Yes, I had to vote by mail, so I've already sent my ballot in.
Okay. And how'd you vote?
Liberal.
As you intended
no
to
surprises.
All along.
Well,
Did you ever waver?
Well, when I was first called about this, they did ask if I had secured my mind. And at that point, I didn't know who the candidates were. So I hadn't decided. Like I said, I agree a lot with the platform of the NDP. So I was waiting to see who was representing in my riding. And we previously had Harjit Sajjan running. And so when I found out he was running again, that's when I made the decision to vote Liberal. Yes.
Okay. Dragon, you told us how you're voting.
David, just while Sardul was talking earlier, just reminded me as to why I'm going to not be voting for Justin Trudeau, the Liberals. I think he had done excellent job. Well, not excellent, but very good job in ordering millions and millions of vaccines. He had handled the COVID crisis pretty well, I have to admit. The only thing, I realized from the other panelists for the last few weeks, the reason a lot of people were not going to work, even though there are a lot of jobs out there, it's because it's not paying enough. They're getting more from the COVID emergency payment. And I realize now why people don't want to go back to work, because they're getting paid more than actually working for minimum wage. But the main thing that I don't like, just
but you can't vote NDP because you don't like the CERB, Dragon.
That's not the main David. No, I realize people why they're not. If you remember, David, I was not happy a few weeks ago when I heard why people they are not going back to work, why they're collecting this. Yeah. But now when I listen to other panelists, I realize, wait a minute, they're not going back because they're not paying them enough. And just by listening to other panels, and they were right. Actually, if I was in that position, I will not go back to work if I'm getting more money from the government. So I'm not blaming Trudeau about this or people not going back. But the other thing that had put me off from Justin Trudeau is the promise that he gave. He was going to go after those people who collected, who were not eligible. And now he spent billions of dollars in that, and nothing happened. Like there is no consequences for all those people who had applied and got $20,000, and now they're not gonna pay back. So this is the reason he's been wasting a lot of money. And that.
So why are you voting for O'Toole?
Well, I never say I'm gonna be voting for. Maybe you mistaken me, David, or maybe I mentioned Jagmeet Singh, never mentioned Erin O'Toole.
Right. So who are you going to vote for, Dragon?
Well, I made my mind already from the beginning. It will be Jagmeet Singh, and he's still not my favorite candidate. Like Jack Layton was going to be, if he was still alive, he will be my favorite. But I also just listened to other panelists. I'm even asking a question on how Jagmeet Singh is going to recover all that money that he's promising, taxing the super rich, and also those billionaires to pay their share that they keep money overseas. So now even questioning Jagmeet Singh, how he's going to recover. So even he is questionable to me. But anyways, I don't have the favorite candidate, but he's at the bottom line, he's going to be my candidate. Okay.
And why are you not voting Conservative, Dragon?
I just don't. David, I think they are more for the rich people, not even the local elections here in Ontario. I never voted for, and I'm not happy that Doug Ford has won election here in Ontario. I was voting for Andrea Horwath, which still she lost for the second time. I think to me that I was always put off by the Conservative. I think they are more for rich people. That's the main reason that I have not been voting for Conservative.
Okay. Art, I think you're our last.
I'm still leaning a little bit towards Conservatives. My main reason is because my main concern about the country right now is the deficit and the debt. We do need social programs. But my concern is how our future generations, our children, are going to actually be able to afford that. Right. I don't want it to get to the point where they actually have to be canceled because we've already spent it and there's no more funding for that. I think it was highly irresponsible for Mr. Trudeau to call election and spend $600 million at this time. The only party that really talked about trying to deal with the deficit was the NDP, but I don't think they're being realistic about taxing the rich. First of all, the rich have professionals to help avoid it, And if they do get in, it's just like Britain when they went after the ultra rich. Most of them a lot of them moved offshore, so they didn't pay any taxes. So if you put it too hard, they'll just up and leave. So I think the Conservatives, because they spend maybe a little less money than the Liberals, I'm kind of leaning a little bit towards them. Although if you ask me of all three leaders, I like Mr. Singh. I think he's the most honest and transparent, even though he might be a little naive. So, yeah, I'm leaning maybe a little towards Conservatives, but I haven't made up my mind. It'll be the Conservatives or the NDP.
Okay, so let's start with why not the Liberals?
As I say, I think it was highly irresponsible of Mr. Trudeau to call election at this time. I think the only reason he did it for personal reasons because he wanted a majority. I think he put himself in front of what was best for the country.
Okay. And if you were to not vote Conservative, why would that be? What is your nagging doubt about voting Conservative?
With Mr. O'Toole himself. As I say, I think Mr. Singh is probably the most honest of the three. So I guess maybe Mr. O'Toole would be the second, but I don't trust Mr. Trudeau at all. I think he goes with the flow too much.
Okay.
He caters to special interest groups a little too much.
Okay.
And I think the Liberals are just too free to throw money at a problem with no oversight.
Still going strong here, Herle Burlyites, with our little series on perception versus reality. This is damn it, I've lost track. Let's call it number 23. One of my favorite numbers because it was Ronnie Lancaster's. If you don't know who the great Ronnie Lancaster was, I can't help you. Perception. Curse of politics is three veteran strategists who spout deeply considered insights, seemingly at will. Reality. We record the show at 6:30 every morning. I set the alarm for 5, do one push-up, then drink a gallon of coffee. Without that, I can't even form a complete sentence. The perception is that our presenting sponsor, Telus, is a telco. But Telus is actually a technology company, one with a social purpose. Case in point is Telus Agriculture, the largest agricultural technology business in the world. Their vision is to digitally connect all the players in what was literally the most siloed and analog of industries. From seed to farm to fork and all the constituents in between, transportation, warehousing, wholesaling, retailing, and more. Why? Because feeding the planet in the coming years is going to require a 70% increase in production. To achieve that, the industry needs better collaboration, enriched data sharing, and streamlined operations and efficiencies. Telus Agriculture makes all of it happen, and the yield is extraordinary. The way we grow and get our food will be safer and more sustainable, economically, environmentally, and socially. Telus Agriculture is already in more than 50 countries and works with 9 of the top 10 agricultural customers in the world. It's telling. While their competition spends big money on sports teams and media properties, Telus would rather focus on investing in technology in industries like agriculture, healthcare, and more. To do some good. Go to telus.com to learn more. Now, I got a couple of broad questions for you. Let's talk about O'Toole for a minute. So, at the beginning of this campaign, as I repeat, most of us didn't know very much about him at all. We've seen him in operation for 5 weeks in a high-stress, high-pressure environment. What's your take on this guy? After 5 weeks of watching him, talk to me about Aaron O'Toole.
I learned a lot about the guy in a very short period. He definitely did a lot of work to get out there and be seen. So I can appreciate that about his campaign, at least. Aside from some minor mudslinging, he mostly seemed like he's trying to be genuine, is what I felt. I just don't agree with his platform. But yeah, I was impressed with him. I do find personally, I compare him. He's got that, what everybody's mentioned, the grin. It just looks like he belongs on This Hour Has 22 Minutes rather than on a political stage. But that's just from the stupid grin. And he's probably just nervous. It's his first time up there. It's a big deal. That's all I got.
I had unplugged my microphone, but thanks you for that. Anybody else? What did you learn about Aaron O'Toole?
I'll go. I think he handled himself well during the campaign. It didn't seem like he lost focus on what he wanted to say. Same with Mr. Singh. I think he handled it, but I felt Mr. Trudeau at some points went off the rails. I guess the frustration and the personal attacks on him had something to do with it and pressured the job. But I think Mr. O'Toole handled himself fairly well and kept a steady ship running.
Okay. Anybody else? Tell me what you think about Aaron O'Toole. What do you know about Aaron O'Toole now? Jane?
Yeah, well, I remember when he was voted into the leadership of the federal Conservative Party. And I was watching him back then to get a sense of who he was because I really didn't like his predecessor, Andrew Scheer. And I know that he's in bed with the gun lobbyists. And I know that he said, although he would not himself stand up, bring forward the abortion issue again in Parliament, that he wouldn't stop any of his MPs from doing that. So what I've been seeing on the campaign trail is someone that's kind of changed, trying to change the perception of him. I think he's had some very strong image coaching. And he's been indirect when he's been asked direct questions about the abortion issue and women's rights and gun control. He deflects them. I found it very interesting that he also canceled his interview, his one-on-one interview with CTV News. All the other leaders kept those interviews and he canceled and didn't give a reason why. I think he's going for the optics. He's gone from a year ago when he was elected in on a more conservative, traditional conservative platform. That's how he was elected by his party. And now he's trying to present himself as a more moderate person. And I don't trust him for a second.
Cece, did he make any impression on you over the course of the 5 weeks?
Yes, definitely. At least now I recognize his face and can match his name to his face. I think like from a PR perspective, he done good. Like just, get out there, making sure he's seen, he's heard. But in terms of his credibility, his ability to lead his party is very questionable in my opinion. I feel like he just chosen as a spokesperson because he's likable. He got some really good. I wouldn't say good. Like he got credentials. I think that's likable by a segment of the Canadians. But other than that, I still think that he needs a little bit more time to prove his ability to lead his party.
Interesting. Art, did you want to say something?
Yeah, a little bit off topic about when Jane brought about the abortion. I was just wondering, not that it really matters to me because I'm kind of older, so it doesn't affect me much. But with scientific technology advances now, they're almost being able to know the gender of the pregnancy from almost start. And we know with a lot of countries and cultures, there's a preference for certain genders. How do people feel that they have abortions solely based on gender? If it's a boy, they're going to keep it. If it's a girl,
Art,
they're going to
I've never had a more blatant attempt to hijack my focus group.
Sorry.
Than that.
Just it gets talking brought up and people are all wondering. I'm saying, okay, how do people feel about that? Because I think this issue is going to be constantly being brought up in the future. I don't think it's ever going to go away, to tell you the truth.
Okay.
But I apologize if I hijacked.
Well, that's an issue that can take up a whole focus group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go, your next focus group. I just gave you an idea.
That's one all on its own. Anybody else want to tell me how Mr. O'Toole wore on them over the course of the campaign? Tara?
I agree with the optics comment as someone who I knew nothing about. I did look after I was called for this group and sort of found some information out about him, from his GQ ad with his magazine to when he's talking, even, I feel like he's the least stressed. And I'm thinking this should be a stressful time, right? For them, not only do we have the COVID, but they're running and all of these places. And he seems to me like he's as cool as a cucumber. And I feel like there must be so much behind him pushing or taking care of things to have him look like that.
Sorry, Bill?
I have the same thing what other people say. He's pretty calm. He never got excited. Like Mr. Trudeau was in debate going after the Bloc party. And he's doing pretty good. And only thing I see between him and Mr. Trudeau, anybody ask him a question, he don't answer. He turned around. Every media person ask him the question, why you call the election? He never answer because he's greedy, he's angry power. O'Toole never got excited. He answered the question, people asked for it, and that's it.
Yeah, so from I didn't know him at all from the beginning of this focus group until I voted for the Conservative Party. I said I don't vote for individual person. However, I watched the debate. I think he is, to me, and the impression is he is pretty professional. He is well prepared, and he answered the question. So in terms of other candidate or leader, when they are asked a question, actually some of them just try to avoid or deviate from the question itself, especially the why you call for the election at this time, which is a very, I would say, the top priority question, but we didn't hear an answer at all. So, and in terms of some other members said he seems like the whole team is supporting him, and he's so calm and under such a stressful condition. But do you think that is also one of the traits we are looking for into a leader, which is whenever a leader at a stressful condition, and that is a position with stressful condition every day. If you cannot handle the stress, how can you be a good leader? So that to me actually is a good sign.
Okay, cool. Thank you. So I've got a clip of Mr. O'Toole from later this past week. I think it was Wednesday or Thursday. And just about a minute long. Just take a look at it, and then I want to get your reaction and have you tell me what you think it says.
I just want to say up front that I know my party has ground to make up, so I'm here to listen to you. I want to know your thoughts, your hopes, fears, and dreams. And I hope when Monday rolls around, even if you're uncertain about your vote, you'll look at Canada's Conservatives a little differently. From the first day of my leadership, my priority has been to build a Conservative movement where every Canadian can feel at home, inclusive, diverse, forward-looking, progressive, worker-friendly. We're not your dad's Conservative Party anymore.
What's that all about? What's he talking about? Anybody tell me?
He's pitching to the kids. Go ahead, Cece. Go ahead.
Yeah. I think two perspectives. One is that I feel like he's positioned in a way that he wasn't confident about winning the election, but more so of building that knowledge, awareness from the younger generations, so that maybe one day his party will be the choice of the majority.
Okay. Anybody else? What did you take from what Mr. O'Toole was saying there? Tara?
I took it as sort of a last effort to convince people that he is not the old Conservatives. And I agree with, I think, Daryl, you said, going towards the younger people who I do think are voting very much differently than the Conservatives after speaking to my own children. But I think he was just trying to deflect the Conservative past history.
What past history?
The Harper, the changes, all of the gun, the abortion, all of those parts that he's been confronted on, I guess, and that his MPs have said that they do see change or benefit in it.
Right. Okay. Sony, did you have something you wanted to say?
I found it interesting when he said, it's not your dad's Conservative Party, so kind of suggest I don't know, I guess kind of makes me think, well, what was wrong with, if you're in the Conservative Party, what was wrong with those, my dad's Conservative Party times, right? So it kind of makes me think that he's trying to pitch the Conservatives off as like they're evolved, they're new, they're kind of, they're up with the times. But then my original question is, well, why would you need to do that if you're behind your party? Like, you know what I mean? What are you trying to pitch, or what idea are you trying to throw out there now?
Okay. Anybody else? Who was he trying to distance himself from? Who was he trying to get you to think he was different than?
His own party.
Yeah.
His own party that believes that climate change doesn't exist and women
There's
don't have
another
a
one.
rights over their own bodies, and that we should bring Fox-style news into Canada and, let people go wild with guns. Yeah, it's his own party.
Art, what do you think of what he was saying?
I think he's trying to distance himself from Mr. Harper, from the past leaders. Trying to say that I think maybe he's trying to convince people that he's going to try and change the party from the extreme far right to the more of a moderate.
But Harper won elections.
Sorry?
Harper won elections.
Different time though, right? People may have been in a different mood set. I think people's opinions and moods swing back and forth.
Yeah. Sardul, how did you feel as you were watching this clip?
I was, to be honest with you, I was thinking he wants to change the party to more like young people could like the party and helping him.
Right.
And before, we all heard when we were young here, all the people like liberal, and now people swinging to O'Toole's party, and he wanted people more to swing towards his party, and he will make some changes.
Okay. All right. Daryl, yeah.
Well, I'm in sales, so I'll pull back the curtain a little bit on the intro of the speech. The first thing he does is he starts talking about, tell me about you. What's going to help? How do I help you vote for me? When I'm selling something, the first thing I do is say, how do I solve this problem that you're facing so I can pitch this product and you will buy it from me now? It feels to me like a sales pitch, because that's essentially what I'm seeing. It was a really good pitch, though. I actually liked what he was saying. And if I was considering conservative, he was hitting those buttons, nailing it out, right? He's saying, we're going to change. We're not who you thought we were. Let us prove it now, right? But I don't want a product that sucks.
Yeah, I just have a question to Daryl. If you don't like the sales style, why you are working in this industry as a salesperson?
Oh, no, I like the sales style. That was a great pitch. That's what he's doing. You want to convince the person, make them feel good about what you have. And you don't have to like the product you're selling as long as they're buying. Nobody likes timeshares, but they sell.
Okay. So let's talk about Trudeau. You know a lot about the guy. He's been the prime minister for 5 or 6 years now. And now you watched him in this campaign. Did anything that happened in this campaign affect your impression of Justin Trudeau one way or another? Has your impression of Justin Trudeau changed over the last 5 weeks? And if so, how?
I've actually changed it 2 separate ways, but you girls go first. I usually dominate.
Sonny, go first.
Sorry, I just found this campaign, he was more angry and frustrated. I hadn't seen that in the last campaign he did, but this time it just seemed he was just kind of angry. I don't know if you can call it passion or frustration, but I just saw that more during his stops while he was talking.
Like it or don't like it?
I don't like it. It just doesn't make me feel like, it just kind of makes me feel like, okay, if you're in that situation on a world level, how would you handle yourself?
Okay. Sarah?
I agree. I thought I saw more passion. I'm going to say passion, only because for me, I'm not one that tends to get angry, but when topics like vaccines are brought up with people, and I feel that frustration coming on me too, because I am very passionate about it, not for myself, but about the country and the children I teach. And I feel like he is definitely caring about these things. And I appreciate having somebody who does show that they care.
Daryl.
I, in one way, lost a bit of respect for him because he deflected so much in all the debates. And anytime somebody asked him a question like, why did you call this election? He should found a way to have owned it and then been in front of it every time. Would have probably reflected better. At least that's how I feel about it. And I also watched him just lose his cool too many times. And as we've said before, on a world stage, it doesn't bode well. So he looks more like a child acting out to me. But at the same time, I like him for what he's done in the past. And he has grown immensely as a leader from, when we first saw him, everybody's like, oh, he's a drama teacher. And now he's been our leader for 6 years. So drama teacher aside, he's still earned it.
Okay. Anybody else? What did you learn new about Justin Trudeau in this election? What happened that changed your opinion? Yi?
I just feel like he demonstrates more and more that he is incapable of handling everything.
Okay. What gave you that impression?
Well, the first thing is from this pandemic, it's actually the work his government was doing. Actually, as I said before, like every government at that position would have to do something. It's like you just didn't have the opportunity to show. Secondly, I just feel like as an individual, he's like acting a lot. And lastly is just from the debate, he doesn't seem like he can handle a very tough question very well. And last but not least, and as I mentioned before in our previous focus group session, and he only shows himself like in for example, the Chinese New Year event, but not really when we had a scenario that we do need a leader come out and speak for us as a big group immigrant population, but he was silent, which is very disappointing.
Okay. Dragon.
Yeah, David, I just wanted to add also my opinion about Justin Trudeau. Compared to the previous election, to me, he looked more stressed out, which I was very surprised. I thought it was going to be a breeze election for him this time. He called the election early. And he also, like the other panelists said, I have the same opinion. He deflects some of the questions. And I'm a question how it's going to be when he travels to foreign countries with the other world leaders, how he's going to handle. But he did handle pretty well compared to previous election when meeting world leaders is with the United States and other leaders. Maybe he domestically is a bit stressed out, but I think he can recover. He will be able to handle himself in the world. To me, he seems to be having less pressure handling meeting with world leaders than domestically. I think he was going to be fine. It's not going to be stressed out and nervous, but just to me, this election, he looked to me stressed out. I was surprised.
Interesting. Jane, I'm interested in your reaction to this, in your response to this question.
Yeah.
What was your take on Justin Trudeau over the course of the campaign? Did it affect your thinking about him at all?
Not really. I saw it as strategic. I do think that when he got passionate and emotional about certain issues, that those are the issues that Canadians are passionate and emotional about right now. And so I think he was representing the majority of Canadians in those ways. And speaking of the world stage, he's done a really excellent job on the world stage. He's very respected worldwide. He handled Trump amazingly well, and he's represented us strongly at the G7 and at other international meetings. So I have no concerns at all about the way he acts, which also, he can be very calm, cool, and collected, which makes me even more sure that currently he's just trying to model or represent the thoughts of Canadians during this election. Yeah.
Stardew?
What I'm thinking is when he called the election, he was leading 10, 12 points. He was thinking he's going to walk over. Now he's stressed out. He's going to lose. That's the big stress for him. As G7 leaders, he didn't do nothing for Canada. Are people still in jail in China? What he did? People don't think about that. He was failed at G7 meeting. He didn't bring anything from there for Canada. If you want to give money, that's fine.
Okay.
Sorry,
All right.
you can't say that.
Yeah.
No.
You know, those families is still left in Afghanistan. How I feel about him? He's a leader. And we all laugh here what we want. But if you're in that situation, you find out. I was stuck in India when Corona happened. Cost me $6,500, me and my wife, to come back here. And other countries bring people free.
I'm sorry, you can't say he hasn't done anything.
No, I didn't say done anything.
Yeah, you said he's done nothing.
He done nothing for Canada at G7 meeting.
Okay. There was an odd little wrinkle to the campaign this week. And some people that are not on the ballot anymore that used to be on the ballot appeared in this election campaign. Who is that?
That's Brian Mulroney. David, I met him in Kitchener at the Serbian picnic with his wife, Serbian from my origin, in 1987, just a year after I arrived in Canada. So I also saw him for the free trade when he met with Ronald Reagan in 88 in downtown Toronto, actually. So I saw him twice.
Wow. Was there anybody on the call that did not know? Because I can't see all the pictures right now. Anybody who doesn't know who that was? You're not sure who that is?
No.
Okay. So let's roll the clip.
One day about 5 months ago, I had a call from Aaron. He said, Prime Minister, I should tell you that there are bad polls predicting my defeat. We are getting negative media coverage, and there's grumbling in the party. What do you think? I said, Aaron, I think you should be thrilled. And he said, why? I said, because that's exactly what they said about me 3 months before the election in '84, when we won the largest majority in the history of Canada.
Okay.
Was he a previous Conservative leader? I just really don't know.
Yes, he was. He was the leader of the Conservative Party between 1983 and 1993.
I wasn't here.
And he was Prime Minister from 1984 to 1993.
Yeah, I wasn't here. Okay.
Okay. So those of you who know who he is, why does O'Toole put him out in the campaign?
Because he can afford him.
What does that mean?
Money talks. You can hire anybody to speak at any event.
You think are you being serious?
I think he was paid to go do that talk, 100%.
Yep.
He brought up a valid point. His speech was accurate, but I mean, why was he not on the campaign trail with him the whole time? He just shows up at the end. He was bought.
I don't know. What are you thinking, Cece?
Well, first of all, I don't know that guy. And I'm not sure why he's invited to speak at the event. So it doesn't really play a whole lot of influence on me in terms like what he said and who he is.
Okay. Art.
I think a lot of the older political leaders, they all support their parties in various ways because they're still part of the parties. Yeah, I'm sure he got some money for it, but if you want to go, why aren't the other Liberal parties like John Cruikshank not coming out and talking for Justin Trudeau and all that?
Is it important? What does it signify to you, if anything, Art? What does it signify to you, if anything, that Mulroney was speaking at a Conservative event?
Nothing, because he's a PC party member, so he's going to support it the way he thinks is best, I guess. It doesn't affect me one way or the other. It doesn't make me more prone to oppose Conservative or less. It's just another PC party member coming out and supporting his party. That's all.
Okay. Sardio?
They all do. John Cruikshank came to Brampton with Mr. Trudeau last week.
Well, let's show that clip.
Same thing.
Let's show that clip. Who is this guy?
John Chrétien.
That's former Prime Minister John in the 90s, Jean Chrétien.
So Yi, how do you know who this guy is?
I think I was here when he was a prime minister, maybe.
Yep. 93 to 2003.
Right. I came here in 2001.
Okay. All right. Everybody recognize Jean Chrétien?
Oh, yes.
Yes. All right,
Very
let him roll.
recognizable.
Let him roll.
When I look at the leader of the opposition, you know he's doing things that I cannot do. On child care, on gun control, on abortion, on climate change. He's doing something I cannot do. He's speaking on both sides of his mouth. Something I cannot do.
That's a good joke.
Yeah.
Points on that.
Okay. So what does
The
it
money
mean?
talks.
What does it mean that the Liberal campaign brought Jean Chrétien out? Do you assume, Daryl, that he was also paid for that job?
100%. Yep. Everybody gets their cut, no matter what. Somebody's getting paid.
Okay. And what is it? Why would the Liberals bring Jean Chrétien out? What does that signify?
Tit for tat. It's like we can bring out an even better one.
Okay.
Who was first, though?
I think they were
Mulroney
one
was.
night after the other. I think Chrétien was first, and then Mulroney was after.
I think it also signifies they're saying we have proven success, right? Like this is someone that's already been prime minister, so we've done it before and we can do it again.
Okay.
I think he was also referring to the smear campaign that was done to him, hence his last comment, right? When the PC party put up things commenting on his face, the way he spoke, which then he goes and pulls it back at the end. So I thought that
Playing
was
the long
really
con.
good. Yeah.
E, what were you going to say?
I just feel from this clip, and John Chrétien is maybe really too old because he couldn't remember the words he's supposed to say. He was watching the notes, and he said, repeatedly said, he did something I cannot do. But from this gesture, from just reading the notes, I'm thinking, well, you're too old, so you cannot do what other people can do. So that's the impression I have from that clip.
Right. So
I think he had to read from notes because he's not a very well man too. So
Yeah.
you have to take that into
And the
consideration.
fact that he still went to do that is something in my eyes.
So does that tell you anything about the Liberals? Does it tell you anything about Trudeau? Does it make you more likely to vote Liberal?
No.
Why not? Tara, why doesn't it make you even more likely to vote Liberal?
So I didn't see those until you showed it. And then I don't know. I guess it's irrelevant to me. That's past and this is present.
Okay.
I would go with that.
I would say, sorry, for myself,
go ahead. Yeah.
on either one of them, it would make me it wouldn't make me more inclined or less inclined to vote for either party if I was already aligned with them. Because if you're going to those rallies, you're going there because you agree with the party anyway. Anything they say at that point is just icing on the cake at that point. So you're not
but assume
really...
you see it on TV, Daryl. Assume that you're a voter and you see a clip on TV of Mulroney speaking. Let's focus on Mulroney for a minute. Because I want to put something to you that nobody mentioned, at least directly, and that is that Mulroney did an event for O'Toole, presumably at O'Toole's request. Stephen Harper was nowhere to be seen in this election campaign.
Very unliked.
The Conservatives did not bring out Stephen Harper to do an event for them, but they did bring out Brian Mulroney to do an event for them. What are you supposed to take from that?
Mulroney was a popular person in his time, very overall well-liked, well-respected. Not everybody agreed with him, but he did a lot of great things for Canada, and some on the side as well. But regardless, he's a legacy. This is what we were, and we did all these great things. That's what I'm seeing is they're bringing out some legacy players. Harper's not that old yet, really. I mean, considering Mulroney especially. So it's more appeal to the old base, but show them we're the new people as well. See, we can do both. Talking both sides of our mouth joke.
Yeah. Art, what do you think? They don't show you Harper, but they do show you Mulroney. Art, can you hear me?
Yep.
I said, what do you think about the fact that they don't show you Harper, but they do show you Mulroney?
Maybe, well, to Darrell's point, maybe Mulroney's cheaper to hire than Harper. I don't know. I think that people still have a negative feeling about Harper as opposed to Mulroney. So I think that's why. I think Harper still left a bad taste in the mouth, so to bring him wouldn't be negative for the campaign.
Okay.
Who hates an old guy?
Stardule.
It's the same thing. They bring John Christian, didn't bring Paul Martin. They're all thinking who people like them, who don't like them. Paul Martin was the guy who kicked out John Christian. So it's a political game. So you can't say good or bad.
All right. You know what? That's the end of my program for our discussion. We've been getting together for the whole campaign now and doing this. I can't tell you how much I appreciate the fact that you've shown up every week, that you have been honest and candid and brave about what you think and what you have to say, and you've shared your considerations with us. It's really been great. I want to thank all those Canadians who participated in this focus group session throughout the course of the campaign. And I want to thank those of you out there who either watching or listening have followed along on this journey with us. I think it's been a really interesting complement to other election coverage. We learned about how little information people have compared to those of us who are debating this stuff every day. These are regular people. They don't watch the cable networks every day. They don't listen to the Herle Burly or the Curse of Politics. They're not on Twitter following the daily minutia of the campaign. They're picking up broad messages and broad ideas, and they're extrapolating from what little information they have to reach broader conclusions. Things that break through or really make a difference and are really impactful. A lot of what happens in campaigns doesn't break through to these people at all and doesn't make any difference. And you can't really be subtle. If you want people to know that you're Brian Mulroney's party and not Stephen Harper's party, then you can't be subtle about making that point. You need to be direct about making that point with people. I think at the end of the day, what we've followed along here is that a lot of the initial anger about the call of the election hasn't really gone away. I don't think many people in this group would have thought that the election call was a good idea, but it's not really a motivating vote influencing factor for most people at the end of the day. And the people who should have been expected to vote Liberal out of this group are ending up voting Liberal. I think that two things are interesting to me about how our participants netted out. One of which is the NDP vote held. The people that were NDP and liked Jagmeet Singh at the beginning, they like him at the end, and they're still intending to vote NDP. So we didn't see any illustration in this group of a strategic voter who had planned to vote NDP but now plans to vote Liberal to stop the Conservatives. The second thing is the Conservatives didn't get a vote out of this group that you wouldn't have expected them to get on day one. O'Toole, people saw a lot of effort by O'Toole to present himself differently, and many people are interested in that and would like to see more of that. But the difference between him and what they understand his party to be was stronger than his attempts at repositioning and rebalancing. And at the end of the day, the people in this group who are voting Conservative are the people that would have been comfortable voting Conservative before they even knew who Erin O'Toole was. At the end of the day, in this group, it felt a lot like the status quo from the beginning. But there certainly wasn't a conservative breakthrough, and I think that's also reflected in the polls. Listen, I want to thank all of you so much. I also need to thank, while we're all here, I need to thank our presenting sponsor, Telus, who paid the bills for this and whose commitment to public information during the campaign has made this show possible. And so I'm very appreciative of that. I want to thank everybody who's joined us on this journey along and watched us have these conversations or listened to us have these conversations and deliberations. I think they're better informed for the effort. And lastly, I want to return to you and say good luck to you all and God bless. And may we see each other on the trail at some point. It's been really wonderful getting to know you.
Thank you for having us there.
Nice to meet everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you, Dan.